So guys, welcome back to the channel. Now today's video, I want to talk about pre-race anxiety, and we're also going to touch on comparison, or rather the comparison trap. Now pre-race anxiety can be anything. It can be those butterflies that you get that just leave you feeling a little excited, but also we can take it to the extreme and it can become very negative, debilitating in fact, and I suppose in extreme cases it would cause us to bag the race and just not bother, like the anxiety is too much. Oh, and this is also the weekly running and training vlog, where the main purpose of this video is for you to tell me about your week of running. I want to hear about your successes, and I definitely want to hear about your setbacks. Now at the end of this video, I do go over my week of training. However, I did race yesterday, and that is what got me thinking about this whole race anxiety thing, as well as comparison, because even though I think I don't suffer from race anxiety, at least not as much as I used to, I definitely still do. But we'll talk about my anxiety as the video moves forward. Oh, and of course there will be a race video coming out in the next couple of days or so. Let's talk about pre-race anxiety. For me, living in Florida, we are firmly coming into race season. There are races all through the winter. So I did come across an article in Outside Online titled "Suffer from Pre-Race Anxiety? Here's how to accept the pain." I think this article is valid. I think it applies to a lot of people. It does apply to me. However, I think it's a little one-sided in that it only looks at a source of anxiety being the discomfort that comes from racing, from pushing yourself to the extreme. But I shouldn't discount the article too much. Although it does say pain in the title, it does also mention performance anxiety, which I think is more where my anxiety comes from. And the funny thing is that the anxiety pretty much disappears as soon as the start gun goes off, right? As soon as you are running in the race, you're no longer anxious. It is highly unlikely that you're going to give up once you have started racing, because you've already put in the training time, you're already there. But beforehand, it's that anticipation that can really get you. And although I have only run, I don't know, 50, 51 marathons, I still get that feeling of anxiety. Now, I told you it's not as bad as it used to be. Years ago, when I first started racing marathons, I would be up all night the night before a race. Now, at least I know my anxiety isn't too bad because I can sleep like a baby the night before a race. Still, there's something there. So ultimately, this pre-race anxiety comes down to a pretty primitive notion, and it all starts in our amygdala. Not sure where the amygdala is in my brain, but it's somewhere in my brain, somewhere in this area. The amygdala controls your fight or flight response in response to danger. So because we know that a race is going to hurt, because we know that we're going to be pushing ourselves to the limit and we are going to be in pain, it's only natural that our amygdala wants us to run away from it. So it triggers that anxiety and makes things more difficult than they need to be. Basically, the amygdala is hijacking your brain and it's causing the release of stress hormones. I realize this isn't very scientific when demonstrating the release of stress hormones, but it's all I have at the moment. So if you have ever experienced any kind of pre-race anxiety, I want you to let me know in the comments. In fact, let me know the last time you experienced pre-race anxiety. And I guess I also want to know if you never experienced pre-race anxiety. I wonder, have you raced so much that it's just another day? Let me know in the comments. Okay, the best way to combat this anxiety is to remember that you're not actually damaging anything when you're in pain during a race. Now, I think this is going to benefit us as we think about our race and the discomfort it's going to cause, but also we can use this mind hack when we're actually racing, when we're in pain. And that yes, it's uncomfortable, but we train every day to accept that discomfort. We're teaching ourselves by training how to be comfortably uncomfortable. And that's what you have to remember when things start getting a bit tough during the race. You're not damaging yourself. You're not doing anything negative to your body, unless of course you're running through an injury. Then you should probably stop, or you probably shouldn't be racing in the first place. But aside from injuries, that pain that you're feeling, it isn't going to do anything, guys. So push on. Oh, also, the pain is totally under your control. All you have to do is slow down and that pain will just disappear. Now, I also recognize that that probably isn't the most comforting thought going into a race, because we all sign up for races knowing that we're going to be pushing ourselves to the limit. Otherwise, we would just go out and do a training run. We wouldn't pay that money to go and race. But still, we're talking about mind hacks here. So if you are worried about the discomfort that's going to come through racing, that's going to come through pushing yourself, just think, at any minute I can turn off that pain by just slowing down. But there's also reconceptualizing that discomfort, that pain. So the article talks about reconceptualizing this discomfort in a few different ways. And the first way is to think about your discomfort as something that is just washing over you and through you. And when you're running, you're leaving it behind. The next way to reconceptualize is affect labeling. And this is done by actually recognizing your anxiety, recognizing the discomfort, sort of labeling it. The article suggests putting a post-it note on it to come back to it at another time, and then move on to thinking about something else. And that something else is bringing yourself back to the present and focusing on whatever you have done during your training to encourage yourself, to motivate yourself to stay in the moment. And that could be thinking about your breathing, thinking about your heart rate, thinking about your cadence, your arm swing, your gait. There are a lot of things that we can focus on when we're in a race rather than the discomfort itself. But if you can't get away from that discomfort, I'm going to come back to it. Just remember that pain isn't going to kill you. It's only going to make you stronger. Make you stronger. That was a little cliche, but it's not going to hurt you. Now, notice I don't suggest focusing on something on the outside. I'm not suggesting focusing on your music that you're listening to. And I'm not suggesting it because it's bad, because sometimes it really does help to disassociate and concentrate on something on the outside, like beautiful scenery, like your favorite jams. And I've made videos about this in the past, the most successful runners are thinking about the internal workings of their body during a run. They're not disassociating themselves from the run and looking at some external factor. They are thinking about themselves, and they're thinking about themselves doing the activity that they're doing. And that in itself will eliminate anxiety. Now, I know I'm jumping back and forth. We're talking about pre-race anxiety, we're talking about actually running the race. But if you've got the tools to handle the actual race right, I'm hoping that will eliminate some of your pre-race anxiety. Ultimately, when we talk about reconceptualizing discomfort in our racing, what we're doing is putting it into perspective. And we all know when we don't put things into perspective, they can kind of run away with us. But by putting it into perspective, so the article puts it this way, the discomfort that you're feeling during a race isn't exactly like you're being tortured in a Gestapo holding cell, right? I think we can all agree that the discomfort coming from running isn't that bad. And also, I want you to focus on the benefits that you get from that race, from pushing yourself, from experiencing that short-term discomfort. You are getting to experience a very meaningful and fulfilling life event. But ultimately, Molly Huddle says it best. And she actually tries to lean in and embrace the hurt, because she says that's when the racing happens. And she notes that she is getting the best out of herself if it hurts. So if you're worried about racing, if you've got that anxiety, got those nerves coming into a race, just remember, you are getting the best out of yourself if you hurt. So with that in mind, better make it hurt. Okay, so up until now, we've only talked about one part of pre-race anxiety, and that's the discomfort that comes with racing. There's a lot more to it than that. There's like the social aspect. And even though I say social, I don't mean just like your running social circle, like me and you, talking about me looking inside to me and you looking inside to you. Now, I can only speak for me when I say this, but generally, I don't compare myself to others. With that said, comparing ourselves with others isn't the only thing that can cause anxiety. There's also the dreaded comparing yourself with previous experiences. And this is where I notice a problem in myself. So if you're seeing this video on the day that it was released, I would have run the Jacksonville Marathon yesterday. But I also ran the Jacksonville Marathon last year, and I had an okay race. I had some GI issues at the end of the race, which caused me to cross the line in 3 hours and 12 minutes and 21 seconds. Now, my goal for that race was 3 hours and 10 minutes. However, I did go out a little faster, thinking I was going to be able to absolutely smash my goal of 3:10. But because of those GI issues, I had to slow down, and I actually ended the race feeling pretty good about how I performed, just because I performed through those GI issues, and I really couldn't have run any faster. However, got the race coming up again, and I look at last year's time at 3:12:21, and I'm like, that was a pretty good time. Pretty happy with that. I would like to run that. Oh, and just to be clear, at the filming of this part of this video, my race is still a couple days away, so I don't know what I'm going to run. However, what I do know is that my goal is going to be 3 hours and 10 minutes again. And if you've been following me for the last couple of months, at least this year, you would have seen me run the Boston Marathon in 3 hours, 8 minutes and 30 seconds. So of course, I'm comparing myself to that. When the weather is right, Jacksonville should be a much faster course than the Boston Marathon. So that's where I find my anxiety creeping in. I know what I'm going to have to do in order to beat these times, and I'm a little anxious of if I'm going to be able to do it because of my past performances. But what I have learned, and what talking about it with you guys on the video is helping me, or at least it's reminding me, that every race is different. Just because I can do something on one day doesn't mean I'm going to be able to do it a year later. So if I do meet my goal of 3:10, that's going to be great. And if I don't, that's also going to be great. Because although the course is the same, there are a lot of other things that are not the same. For example, the weather, my training, my sleep coming into it. There are a lot of factors that go into making a good race day performance. So what I'm saying is that me comparing myself to my past performances is pretty silly. It's not going to lead me anywhere good. So I need to accept my races as an individual stamp in time and just go out there and do what I can do. Geez, this whole video has been like a pep talk to myself. Anyway, if you're following on Strava, you may have already seen my race results, but if not, go check it out or wait for just a minute because I'm going to talk about my week leading up to the race in just a second. And guys, my last week before the race actually went pretty well. It was a very minimal running week. Started off on Monday with 6 miles, but as you can see, I didn't give Strava enough of a buffer and it only recorded 5.99 miles, but that's okay. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. Tuesday, I ran 5.2 miles and I also did 4 30-second pickups towards the end of the run because this week is all about running very easy, but still, as you know, I know I'm preaching to the choir. We have to keep our legs turning over at least a little bit. Wednesday was a day off, followed by Thursday where I ran 6 miles. Again, very easy, but this time I included 6 30-second strides towards the end of my run, again, just to get those old stems turning over. And Friday was the day that I deviated from my plan, and my plan is the Hanson's Marathon Method. I've been using the Hanson's Marathon Method for a couple of marathons now, and they had me running another 5-mile run on Friday. But when I woke up on Friday, I thought, another day off isn't gonna kill me, so I took it. I took a day off on Friday, and then on Saturday, my final run, my final shakeout run, I went out, I ran 3.1 miles, and again, just like those earlier runs, threw in some strides just to get my legs turning over, and I was feeling pretty good. And finally, I wrapped up the week on Sunday with the Jacksonville Marathon, where my official time was 3 hours, 9 minutes, and 57 seconds. However, I did spend the whole race thinking I was going to finish about a minute and a half quicker than that. But I'm thinking I'm going to do a recap of that race on next Monday's video, so make sure you're subscribed and stay tuned to that. So all in all, with the Jacksonville Marathon, my week's total came to 46.77 miles, which is about 75.27 kilometers. So all in all, pretty good week. A pretty good week with the race being the cherry on the top. Oh, and of course there will be a race video coming out in just a couple of days. Hey guys, if you have made it to this point in the video, first of all, thank you. Second of all, why don't you drop the footsteps emoji in the comments below, just so I know who has made it all the way to the end. And with that, be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.